Alright, how are you, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to our CAD tutorials. So in this lecture I want to be able to illustrate how we can perform a machine assembly in Creo parametric from scratch. So that is going to be essential. Why? Because Creo tends to use different options to the ones that we saw in our Pro E, like the mate, the aligning, the insert. They are not available in Creo. They have been renamed, so that's why I want to introduce these new terms or these new options that are now available in Creo, which also enables us to be able to perform animations in our Creo, because it requires us to be to first of all perform a machine assembly. So for us to properly properly assemble in Creo, I must be able to illustrate or demonstrate how to use these new assembling options. So I'm going to select a new option and create a new machine assembly file, and then I'm just going to be using the default templates, but if you want you can uncheck it or use the customized templates. This one tends to have some millimeter units, but I'm just going to be using these imperial units that that I'm provided in the default template. The default template uses imperial units, and it's not going to change anything as far as what I want to illustrate is concerned. So I'm just going to be selecting or using a bottom-up approach, whereby I'm going to be importing the individual components and not really designing in the assembly mode, but I'm going to be importing the previously designed components. And in this case I want to be able to illustrate this assembly using a threaded fastener, which comprises of a bolt, nut, and a washer. So those three simple components will enable me to illustrate these new assembling options that are available in Creo parametric. So I'm just going to be importing the new files using this simple, which is familiar from our Pro E. And I'm going to first of all import the bolt. So there is the bolt. Let me make it a little bit cleaner and check all these planes, points, and coordinate axis display. And then I am going to place a default constraint, since it's the first component. The status is going to change to fully constrained, and then I'm going to click OK. This is my bolt, unique bolt. If you want to move your bolt, I want to move it to the left so that I can get enough space to show my components that I'm going to be inserting. So I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to click the wheel of the butt of the mouse, and then I'm going to be moving this bolt right there. If you want to zoom, you'll be pressing Control and you click the wheel of the mouse. You can zoom out or you can zoom in using the different directions. So that I'm happy with this. Then now let me import the next component, which is the washer. So there is the washer, and it is shown here using the default coordinate system. You can translate it in that axis, translate it also into that axis. You can even rotate it if you want, selecting those rotational axes that I want. So I need to be able to align these two axes together, to align the washer on the bolt. So I am going to use the coincident option. As you can see, we don't have mate, we don't have insert, we don't have align. So the coincident, they are all embedded in the coincident option. So you can select the coincident option, and then I want to select this axis to that axis. As you can see, it is a little bit difficult to select the axis on the washer. It's a little bit difficult to select, so let me provide this other window, which enables me to view components more properly. So this is an aiding window. have right there, and I can zoom. It does not have that coordinate system to move or to translate or rotate my components, so it makes it a little bit easy to select what I want on the component. So I'm going to select this axis, and then I'm going to coincident it to this axis, and the two components are now aligned. They now lie on the same axis. Now, that is perfect, but that's not all, because I want to insert the washer on the bolt shaft. So I'm going to reduce the distance in between them. I'm going to go for a new constraint, and then I'm going to select, I can easily select this face without even using this aiding window. I can select this face and also this face. I want to reduce the distance. So automatically it has given me the distance constraint, and I'm going to be inserting this distance to, let me put it at 35. Put it 35. I can even change it to 25 to increase that to reduce that distance even more. And I'm happy with it. So I'm going to click OK. Click OK right there. So that's it. Perfect. So now I'm left with importing the nut. Alright, select my nut, and the aiding window is still there. You can switch it on and off depending on what you want, but I think I still need it because I'm going to be selecting again that axis. It can be a little bit difficult to do so using the default window. So I am going to align. I still need to align this axis of the nut and the axis of the bolt, like that. But the curved surface, the chamfer surface of the side of the nut is lying on the wrong side, so I'm going to flip it right there. Right there. So the next thing is I want to add a new constraint so that I can reduce the distance between the nut and the bolt. In other words, I'm trying to insert now the nut into the bolt shaft. So click new constraint. Now I need a distance between this surface. Not really that. Let me undo that. So first of all, I said I'm going to align this to that, and then I'm going to flip it so that the chamfer surface is on the opposite side, and then I want to make sure that this is lying on the same plane or rather there is a zero distance between these two things. So I'm just going to use the coincident option again, but rather I want to make sure that there's a zero distance between the two, and when you select the distance constraint, it is by default showing that there's a zero distance, or in other words, these two surfaces are made, they have been made, there's a zero distance in between them, which is exactly what I want, because I want to place the nut at the entry point on the bolt shaft. So the coincident option is very, very important. You can also use the distance option if you want to offset or to make sure that there's a specific distance between the two components. There's plenty of other constraints like parallel. Make sure that the two components that have been selected, they are in parallel, or the two components, they make a normal surface. to one another. You can use them as per your requirements, but the coincident is very, very important because it is the one that in which the mate and the align options that we previously used are embedded. So that's it. If I'm happy, I can just click OK. That is my assembly, and if I'm happy, I'll just save it. And if you want, you can even make an exploded view, edit the positions of components, select the components. I'm going to put it a little bit further. I'm going to select the washer. I'm going to put it a little bit further, and then I'm going to click done. Redo again the exploded view. Redo again the exploded view. I think I'm happy with this assembly. So that's it. We'll just be able to save it. Threaded fastener. Okay. Alright, I'm done. Alright, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see you in the next tutorials.